Welcome to Meaty-B's recipes. Today I will be making one of my favorite meals, Sunday gravy. You can use this Sunday gravy to do spaghetti and meat sauce, and we also like to chop up the meats and use it to make lasagna. Not a lot to say. Last week I showed you how to make the meatballs. As you can see, I've already browned my sausages. You don't need to watch me brown onion and garlic. That's pretty basic. But I did want to talk really quick about the ingredients. These sausages were purchased at a local deli, which makes the sausages every day. No preservatives. These were purchased at the store. They were browned in the same pan using the same technique, but as you can see, completely different results. These have extra salt and extra sugar. These just got meat and fresh spices. There is a fair amount of salt in these as well, but no preservatives. They make the sausages daily, and they're sold by the pound, and they're actually sold in length form. You have to cut the sausages to separate them. The reason I mention that is mostly because of the salt content. I list a certain amount of salt in the recipe, but salt content with the sausages, salt content with the cheese that went into the meatballs, and yes, salt content on your various tomato sauces vary widely. This recipe may taste bland to one person using one type of sauce and sausage, and it may be extremely salty to another person. Plus, the true salt content doesn't present itself until the sauces have time to cook down. So I typically don't salt my Sunday gravy until very close to the end of the cooking time. Secondly, I did want to talk about sauce. This particular sauce is quite thick. I like it, and I've found it to be very flavorful. It's a nice deep red. You know, some sauces are made with cheap tomatoes, they're orange. This already has some garlic powder and some other things in it. Again, you have to adjust the recipe and your seasoning based on the type of sauce you use. You can use chopped tomatoes, or like these San Marzano tomatoes. You can hand crush them or blend them. These already have some basil in there. So if you were to use these, I would recommend using some tomato paste if you use chopped or whole tomatoes, because otherwise you're going to cook it down forever, and you're going to need a lot more cans than you expect, because these have a very high water content. Also, if you were to use this, you could basically omit the Italian seasoning from the recipe, because this already has basil in it, and you could just slightly increase your oregano amount. Again, don't get crazy with it though, because oregano can become very bitter. I also like to put roasted peppers in my sauce, and one thing I often do, I'll buy a big bag of them, and you know, may not use them all immediately, and I'll just roast them up, fire roast them, chop them up, and freeze them. I'll thaw these out in a little warm water, or you could just throw them in frozen right into your sauce. These are already diced up pretty small, and they're going to disappear. When I made my meatballs, they took a little longer than normal to brown, and they got a little, not dark. This is going to just melt into the sauce, but I wasn't able to use as much of the cooking liquid as you can see here with my sausages. I wasn't able to like really properly deglaze. I barely got anything. I did taste the meat drippings, and they were a little bitter, so I decided not to use them. So as a substitute, I'm just using some reduced sodium beef paste. If you are okay with MSG, you can use a little bit of this too. I wouldn't say use very much. This is highly salty as well, and again, it ends up tasting artificial if you use too much. I recommend using this. I put this in no matter what, but because I wasn't able to get any meat drippings off of here, I'm going to add some of that towards the end. I also like to add red wine, a sweet red wine, to my Sunday gravy. It helps with the grape in it, adds to depth of flavor and gives it more of that all-day cooked taste. And then the sugar in it helps with the acidity. If you don't like using wine, you could just use some sugar. I prefer to use Lambrusco or Sangria myself. A lot of people use a dry red and then they add sugar, but I'm almost out of this. And believe it or not, a lot of the really high-end restaurants, they just use grape jelly instead of wine. It has the same things in it, it's just one's fermented, one's not. This one you gotta cook off the alcohol. This one you can just mix it in and the food's ready to go. Typically, spaghetti sauces or Sunday gravies will call for some red pepper. I prefer to use Calabrian chilies from Italy. This is a fermented chili. It does more than just provide a little bit of heat. It has a lot of flavor. So if you're someone that likes to put gochujang or sriracha on your food, these are totally worth seeking out. They last for a very long time in the fridge. And if you're someone that really likes spice and the rest of your family doesn't, you could always just mix this in, a teaspoon or half teaspoon of this in with the sauce that's going to go on your portion. And it really bumps up the flavor. If you have a hard time finding these, or if you're out, you can also use some chipotle peppers in adobo. They add a slightly smoky flavor, goes well with the browned meat, and you can't tell much difference. Like it still tastes better to me than using crushed red pepper. So that's about it. I will brown my onions, I'll brown my garlic, and I will be doing a double recipe. I have a 4-gallon pot, so I know these amounts look excessive, but it's because I'm doing a double recipe. So we'll get that going and we'll speed through everything else. Okay, my onions have started to brown. I got this pot on low and I had the lid on to steam, but I got it on my hotter burner, so there's really no way to control the heat anymore, and I don't want my onions to scorch. So I'll add my garlic and my chilies at this point and give them a cook. I microplane the garlic so it doesn't take much time, and neither do the chilies. I'll just give them a quick stir. Oh, smells so good. So earlier I spoke about sauces, and even though these are both the same brand of sauce, as you could hopefully see, this one's quite watery and this one's very thick. So yeah, you just have to adjust the recipe based on the product you have. My garlic's feeling nice and fragrant, so I'll start adding the sauce. And you can even see this one poured out like nothing, and this one's quite thick. I will rinse them, pour one can into the other with some water, and this will cook for quite a while. So let me do that and we'll get back to you. Okay, add in our parsley, the oregano and Cayenne seasoning, and here I have chopped up my beef base along with the roasted red bell pepper and the jelly. This makes it easier to combine. You know, you don't have to worry about stirring the base in and stirring the jelly in to get it to melt. We'll give that a Good mix. And we'll start to add our meat. I do need to add more sauce because, like I said, I'm going to do a double recipe. So I need to add a couple more cans. And then here's the can that I rinsed. One can into the other, and as you can see, it's almost like a whole can of sauce went in there.
Sunday is coming, sauces are bubbling, sausage and meatballs simmer all day long. Thick is the texture, smell in the kitchen, garlic and basil can go wrong.
And just like that, the pot's pretty full. You could forego adding much more sauce, especially if you plan on using it just for spaghetti and meatballs. But I'm gonna add 2 more cans just to have some extra sauce. I like to start up here and then get about somewhere around here by the time it cooks down. You need to let this cook on low. Bring it up to a simmer. Let it cook on low for at least 2 hours. And you're going to have to gently stir occasionally as to not scorch. It's harder to prevent in a big pot like this, but it's doable. Just every 20 or 30 minutes, give it a little stir. This is my mom's recipe, and I know at least 30 people who've said it's the best spaghetti sauce or Sunday gravy, whatever you want to call it, that they've had. She actually cooked this semi-professionally for my grade school growing up. We had hot lunches, the students would pay for it, and she would come in at 4:30 in the morning. It would be the rare occasion that my dad would drop me off to school, and she would just handle it. And once a month we had spaghetti and meatballs, and all the other workers loved it because they just kind of hung out until it was lunchtime and it was time to serve. She handled the sauce, they handled the noodles and the serving, and it was very tiresome for her, but she did it for me and she did it for the other kids, because before she stepped in, spaghetti and meatballs was their worst seller, and once she took over, it was their top seller for as many years as they did it, until the school decided to switch to ordered food, pre-cooked food, or heat and serve food, I guess you would call it. So we'll let this go for 2 hours after I add the couple more cans of sauce. I added a can of diced tomatoes, because why not? Add a little texture. It mostly dissolve. And I forgot my bay leaves. So we'll mix them in. I can hear the bottom starting to simmer. And like I said, we'll just cover this up and let it go for, I'm going to let it go for 4 hours. This is for dinner. And we'll just give it a stir every 20 or 30 minutes. Bad news, everybody. I got on a medical phone call that I needed to take, and I was not able to stir as often as I would have liked. So you don't want to scrape all that black stuff in. So what I'm going to do is I dump the sauce out into 2 other containers, and I'm going to just put some water in here, bring it up to a boil, and scrape all that black crud off. Clean this up, put the sauce back in, and pretend like it never happened. So it's a good learning experience if something similar happens to you. If you go, to stir and you feel something rough, that's a bad sign. If you just feel it here and there, go ahead and scrape it in, but this will scrape off. You don't want all that in your sauce. It'll be better. I even got some sausage and meatballs stuck here. So we'll get that cleaned up and back on track. little scraping, a little boiling water, and a little comet, and we're just like new. I'll get the sauce back into this pan, and I'm going to put it on a slightly cooler burner. Stuff happens. This hasn't really happened before, but you know, sometimes you get distracted and you're unable to stir as often as you like. So this is how we fix that situation. I just looked at the time frame on my phone, and this sauce has been cooking for just a couple minutes short of 2 hours, which means if I add on the time from when I stopped the last video and include the phone call, it went almost 50 minutes without me stirring it. So, you know, there's a good explanation for the sticking. It has been 2 hours though, so I will do an early taste for salt and seasoning. It'd be perfectly good to serve at this point if you like. That's very, very yummy. I did add a teaspoon of sea salt, and when you use sea salt, it's to my taste, it's stronger than table salt. So again, I can't stress enough, like, do your salt to taste. Don't follow that particular quantity in my recipe. Another thing to mention is these Calabrian chilies. They vary in heat intensity, so if you do use them, keep that in mind. This is just barely has a little bit of heat to it. It's not your typical super mild spaghetti sauce. Small kids or people that are very sensitive to spice might have a problem with it, but I think it's perfect for the adult palate. So we'll bring this back up to a simmer. I have it on another burner, very low temp, very wide, very low burner. It's probably less than half the heat that the other one's going to put out, and it's like 3 hours until our dinner time. So this sauce will get a good 5-hour cook. I usually do 4 to 6 hours. But like I said, at this point, it's pretty good. It's going to get better the longer you let it go. And then tomorrow, that's when the magic really happens. Like all the spices, all the flavors, they just meld together. And I really, you know, there's a few recipes that I really hope you try. I hope you try the Mongolian beef one. I hope you try my meatball recipe and this sauce. I hope you try my lemonato recipe. I hope you try a lot of my recipes, but the loaded potato soup, you know, like, they're all pretty good. I wouldn't put them if I didn't think they were good, but certain things in my opinion are top tier. And this sauce is actually the whole reason I started doing the, you know, cooking channel just for fun. It was one of the most requested things that all the grandkids would ask me, like, how does Yaya make her spaghetti sauce? You know, like, everybody asked for this sauce. I've had a bunch of friends ask for it. Once, you know, they come over and have it, and like, oh my god, Poppy, you gotta give me the recipe for the sauce. And she would always be like, I don't have a recipe, I just kind of cook it. So I finally sat down and wrote down what we did, and more or less, you know, a few ingredients more or less here and there. This is her recipe, and it's as close as I could get to it, and I really think you'll like it. So we'll get the lid back on. Actually, at this point, we don't even really need the lid. We're wanting it to slowly cook down now and thicken. It's pretty thick already, but it could be slightly thicker. I did lose about a little bit over a can's worth of sauce, so I put in one of those San Marzano tomatoes with basil cans that I chopped up in the chopper in here to replace that lost volume. Lost the sausage, lost the meatball, but it is what it is. There's plenty of meat in here. Okay, it's been 5 hours. This is where we started. This is where we're at. You can see this darker red areas. This is the fat that cooked out of the meatballs and, well, actually primarily the sausage. If you like, you can just spoon that off, or once the sauce is cooled, it'll actually harden and it comes off very easily with a fork, or you can just mix it in if you want it. I'm going to spoon it off, but yeah, the sauce is done. It has a nice thickness to it. I tasted it. It did need a little more salt, so I ended up adding 2 more teaspoons of sea salt. But I'm very, very happy. The meatballs have gotten pretty tender. If for whatever reason you do want them more tender, just add another cup or even 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Like I said, I got the recipe from Chef Enzo in Florida. I swapped out the veal for turkey, but to make it a sauce that holds up to, a meatball that holds up to being stirred in sauce without falling apart, I also reduced the amount of breadcrumbs. It just changes the delicateness, but to me these are still pretty tender compared to most meatballs I've had at restaurants. Usually they're like little balls of rubber. You could also add more turkey to tenderize it, but that's also going to reduce the flavor. So as always, thank you for watching. I hope you try and enjoy this recipe. Please like and subscribe and check out my other videos. Let me know what you think.